The idea for Moffatfest came about in January 2011, where the kids from the school, I think they'd gone to, the previous summer they'd been to things like Tea in the Park and Glastonbury and some of the festivals, and the idea was to come up with a festival for Moffat, and somebody managed to get a field from a local farmer. I think there was a lot of concern in the community about it because, what would happen if it all goes pear-shaped. With that in mind, I was contacted because I've got a background in putting on big events, and I've also got kids at the school as well, so it was a good fit.
The idea for Moffatfest came from the young people, and as a school we always try and involve young people and what would they like to happen, involve them in the decisions about education. And the idea came from a group of young people in the youth forum, and what they wanted first and foremost was we'd like to have an event. We didn't know if it was going to be a sporting event, a music event, a film event, what it would be, but the idea initially came from them.
I was invited to come down to Arietti's cafe for a meeting with the kids. I wasn't too sure what to expect, and you get quite cynical when you put on events because you can see all the problems coming from them, and then putting on something like a festival in a field is a complete nightmare because you've got to build a stage, you're bringing in generators, you're bringing in toilets, you've got security, insurance, everything you can think. It could become very costly and a logistical nightmare.
You want to go with what the young people have. If you ask them their opinion and that's what they want, you have to encourage them. When they came back with a music event, a band night, a rock night, it was, oh no, we've had this in every other school I've been in. It can be fine for the young people, but it's also not that special. There can be just like lots of boys up on the stage with a guitar making a noise, and whether staff are going to go with that, whether it'll engage the whole school community. I wasn't entirely sure. I would go with it and try to encourage them to think a bit wider than that.
So I went along there with this idea of really having to try and talk the kids out of it, but what I found was that the passion the kids had was so infectious. They really did want to do something, and that convinced me. Yeah, I do want to get involved. I do want to help. I want to come up with something for them. I want to come up with something that's in a safe environment, something on a good enough scale so it's going to be exciting, and it's something they're not going to lose the enthusiasm, the passion they've got for it. And that's when we came up with the idea for the Moffatfest gig. So once we decided we were going to go through and actually do an event, we then had the question, where was it going to be? The ideal venue was a school. It was safe, had a good stage, and it was somewhere we could actually control in terms of who was coming in, who was to be outside it. And the next stage was to bring Leslie Watson, who's the head teacher, on board. And initially she was a wee bit reluctant. It seemed a kind of a wild idea. It
was almost going to be like the next Glastonbury, and they were looking for a field in the community, and then no, actually we'll just use the school. And being in a brand new school building where everything's pristine, again, that added to my worries. Was it going to be advertised across Scotland? Was it going to be one of these events that you hear about on Facebook where suddenly carloads turn up from all over Dumfries and Galloway, and what that would mean for my school and security and the safety of the younger pupils in the school? Yeah, it did worry me quite a lot.
But very quickly she came on board and was a real champion for the event and supported us at every point.
It was one of those ideas that Henry was having, and would it work? Would he just go about it? Would it be total mayhem?
But we always had a very tight time scale to achieve the event.
The first time I heard about it, I thought it was a bit ambitious, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I knew when Henry was working on it that there was a good chance that it was going to come really good. But the time period, 5 weeks, I thought, can these guys do that,
So having bagged the venue and got the support of the head teacher, the next thing was to set about getting auditions for the bands and the artists at the school to see what we had. And we put posters up, and I was under the understanding there was going to be a plethora of ready-made bands and performers that we were going to use for the event. What actually happened was there was no bands at all, and the kids who were there, obviously a lot of good talent I found, but they were used to just playing off the internet and not actually interacting with each other. And so we had quite a steep learning curve to get kids to try and work together and play, perform together.
I seen the posters around the school, and I've always been really interested in singing from a young age. So I just thought, well, everyone was talking about it around school, so I thought, oh well, I'll go see what this is all about, see what's going on. So we arrived at the meeting, and Henry Cook, he was in charge of it, and we were all kind of a bit apprehensive about it, didn't know what it was going to be like, if it was just going to be the same as all the other kind of things like this.
I think the kids looked upon it as being just another band night with, you know, off-the-shelf bands being brought in. Or if I'd started doing auditions, I think they were worried in case it was going to be a kind of X-Factor situation where they were going to be open to ridicule or competition. It was nothing like that. We basically just wanted to see what was out there, find out what talent or what people wanted to do, and then nurture them and guide them and get them over the line.
All my friends were going along to it. All my friends were really enthusiastic about it. I wasn't sure because I'd played these kind of music events before, and they've never really gone well for me. It's always been something to do with me mucking up, or the amps not working properly, or just in general not going well. Once
we started that process and people could see how supportive we were and what we were trying to do, the word soon spread around the school, and that's when the kind of bandwagon really started moving, and more kids became involved. More and more kids came out of the woodwork. We found some incredible talent there. There was a real seam of gold and there, and every day they just seemed to grow in stature and confidence as we came through it. One of the things that helped is I think there was a confidence of ignorance with the kids working on it. They really, sometimes they'd reach for the stars, they'd go for things that may be far too big for them, but you know, occasionally the results were incredible. Most of all, we had great fun throughout it. You know, we made lots of mistakes, but there was a fun aspect to it. It was a light-hearted approach to everything we get through. So. Okay. Take two.
Stop.
What's that?
Monday night pasta.
Monday night pasta.
Standing.
Monday night pasta. A lot of other roles as well that suddenly came out. We found out there's kids who were interested in makeup and costume design, and we brought a wee team together for that. There's kids who were interested in rock photography, and we brought a wee team together for that, and we got them some good equipment to work on. And this incredible enthusiasm and passion drove the event forward, and it was an incredible momentum we had. When we started off working with the kids, To use football parlance, we were using jerseys for goalposts. We had one decent mic between 10 and it used to be passed around as kids were singing, looking for choruses. It made it all the better when we moved on to the main stage, the big stage, and we had the final rehearsals in there.
It was when it transformed from just a rock band night, as every other school does, to something that was much, much wider, and the skills that pupils were picking up. So, you know, it started very quickly to become, we had the musicians, we had the performers, but we had the publicists, we had pupils in doing hair and makeup, we had pupils writing reports for the local press, we had image consultants and little tutorials, and all of this was done after school. You know, I didn't let pupils out of class, it wasn't something they were getting out of English or maths to do. They had to commit, they had to come in at lunchtimes, they were here till 6 o'clock at night.
These tricks that I remember with your mind. Pick a verse, send a verse, I hypnotize you with your life. I need a volunteer, how about you? The eyes, come on down to the front, stand right here and don't be shy. I have you time traveling, have your mind babbling. People try to inherit the skills, so they asking me. Even David Blaine had to go and take some lessons. Now freak like what's up, man, what's happening? So come on, and see the show tonight. The better be a star, and no goes the poltergeist. Couldn't no Pinocchio and never told a lie. So come in with the magic, man, I'm for the cloud nine.
For a very small school, we probably had about a third of the school involved in one way or another, directly or indirectly on the event.
It seemed for a while everywhere I went in the school there was something to do with Moffatfest happening in every area of the school, not just in the music department. And that was when I realised actually this is a huge opportunity. Still had concerns, but a huge opportunity if we got it right.
There was a buzz about the school, the kids were talking about it, there was posters everywhere, but I'm not a music lover and I'm thinking, oh, I just hope that it goes ahead and that I don't actually have to do anything. But there was a lot of buzz and a lot of sort of kids coming into your classrooms, can we sell tickets? They were all sort of, they had a little list of how many tickets they all had to sell, so it was a lot of campaign going on to get every pupil to come to it that night. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I'm not the sort of teacher that doesn't like interruptions. To see the kids happy, to see them buzzing, to have the entrepreneur skills coming out in them trying to sell their wares, hawk their wares was absolutely fantastic.
The phone rings from a friend, and I can never be sure. Will they build me up, or will they cut me down, or will they take this feeling away?
Suddenly I started to see the opportunities for so many children, and from first years to sixth years, you know, people who thought, I'm going to be out of here in 6 months, I'm going to be at university, I'm going to have my life in Glasgow, and yet they were just as keen as the first years were, and it started to show me what an opportunity it was for this school.
Henry kept going on about how it was going to be this big event with everything that we could imagine, proper microphones, hair and makeup, and we didn't really believe him. We were like, oh, are you sure? Like, we believe it when we see it.
I'm staring like the air, just making my way through the crowd.
Because the final run into the event was so good in terms of what pupils were doing and the buzz around the school, it was almost like whether this goes well or not doesn't really matter, because the whole experience for the pupils was just so great. So yeah, we'll get the event in and out the way.
When they had the actual night, to put together the night, and all the technicians came in and started unloading from the lorries, all the big lighting rigs and amps and speakers, you could see the anticipation really beginning to build, and you could say that, you know, the kids knew as well as everyone else something big was going to happen. This was going to be a really serious event that we're going to step into.
As the day started to sort of unfold, the sound crew arrived. Henry was you know, adamant it had to be special, professional, live acts, you know, the best of kit. And you could hear the sound checks and the number of people coming out with equipment, more equipment I think than we've ever had on the stage. And you could see the pupils going away home at night and the buses who were coming back to perform, and just the level of excitement just started to build from that point on.
The kids all had lanyards, artist lanyards, there was dressing rooms, with the press. The kids were working with the press and photographers all in there. It actually felt like a real occasion. It did feel at the end of the day as if we had actually put together a bit of a kind of festival.
And me and Chloe, one of the other singers, arrived early because we were doing a rehearsal with him, just to get last minute rehearsal. And we walked into the hall and there was stuff everywhere. There was cameras, there was wires everywhere, it was a mess. And we were just like, wow, what is going on? And that was the first time when we kind of realised this is big.
When the doors opened, I was at the door for a while. The first time I walked into the hall, the atmosphere in the hall was just electric. And although we've not got a huge school population, they were all down at the front. First act came on, the cheers went up, and it just maintained that for the rest of the night.
On the night of the event, it was absolutely electrifying. You walked into the hall and it was as if you were in a concert. You could have been in the Barrowlands, you could have been in the SECC. It was dark, it was loud, it was bright, it was noisy, it was wild, there was times of calm. It was just absolutely amazing.
And the atmosphere was just, it was quite incredible actually to experience it. Having been at lots of school events, lots of school concerts, to see or to feel the atmosphere and the ambience in the room was just incredible.
Then it all started, and people who weren't on the stage could go out front and listen, and it was absolutely amazing. Everybody did so well and the crowd was amazing, and first time I'd ever seen a mosh pit in Moffat Academy.
Well, I was very, very lucky, really pleased I managed to go, because I was, staff, so and no other parents were allowed to be there. So it was fabulous, actually, the whole thing, just from start to finish, to see the kids there, to see them performing at such a high level with such amazing equipment and sound and lighting, which I know nothing about technically, but as Miss Watson said to me on the evening, the difference in, hearing a child singing in assembly, and that child's got a great voice and they're singing something really well, but hearing them on that night with that set up was just astonishing. Some of them, had sung before, some of them were fairly confident, others who had never stood on a stage before, some of them really quite shy, socially, and to see them up there and all getting this just rousing, amazing response from the kids watching, that kind of holding the hands up and trying to, clap each other's hands and just feeling like stars, and they looked like stars, and the kids watching were, as much a part of it, they were enjoying it, and it was like they were at a top concert. It was really amazing to see.
Coming up the stairs and then on the stage, and there was like everyone just cheering at you, and it was quite, for like however many folk that were there, it was pretty loud. And just strapping the guitar on and just playing playing the first chord, the first note, and just that epic sound just coming out from the kit. It was just awesome.
The thing that surprised me on the night was just how professional it all looked, how good they were. I was expecting, you know, the usual sort of school concert type of stuff, but these guys were just amazing, just blew my socks off basically when I seen them. And when you compared them to the band that was there, Xavier, you thought, wow, some of these kids are actually better than them.
Moffatfest was an opportunity to broaden your performance, and it sort of took it outside of the typical school concert performances, so you had more of a chance to do a real performance.
The audience were incredible. And they were so supportive when they came up, and it's quite, you can see that way any of the footage, they're all really going, everyone that comes on, they give an absolute tremendous response to it. And you know, we did things in there which, on the face of it, you're talking about a teenage audience going through to put on, with one of the lads came through, Ryan, he came through to play a solo song, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, an old Beatles song from 1968, on the ukulele. You think, how is this going to work? How is that going to go down with an audience who've just been listening to Nirvana or whatever, or Pink or something? And yeah, the support was there, and he came in and he played out his skin, and they all got it.
Quite scary just to think that I would be up on that stage, and I didn't know how it was going to go down because everyone else was in bands and no act had, like, every act had a vocalist in it, and I was the only act without a vocalist, so I thought it was quite nervous just to go on there on my own. What if they didn't like it? What if I just got booed off the stage? Because they were all buzzing for, like, big fancy acts and big upbeat, up-tempo songs, so I thought mine wouldn't go down too well. So.
We took chances like that, we put things in there which, you know, a lot of times you would think, oh no, let's play safe, just keep it to the normal, your Katy Perry numbers and stuff that's going to win across. And we didn't, and that's very much what the guys wanted to do. You know, it's testament to the success of the night and success of the project's testament to the kind of support, not just in the group for the kids who are doing it, but the whole school and the culture they've got in the school. invited a big batch of teachers through to see it, and I know from a fact that quite a few of the guys that were coming along to it, they thought in the best will in the world this is going to be could well fall on its face, or at best be a wee bit flat and dip at points. It didn't. It just, you know, it sailed through, and to put 19 acts on and all of them absolutely perform out their skins, which is what happened. It actually was quite a rare thing. So you realise at the end of the night there's something very, very special that happens in here.
It was 10 times better than what I think it was going to be like. 10 times better, because it's just the crowd, the atmosphere, and you just got into the flow of it right away. As soon as you get on stage and you're faced by that cheering crowd, it just boosts your confidence like 100%.
I would do it. I would do it a million times over, because it was just magical. It was really something else.
It was a very emotional experience, because every single person who was involved in it rose to the occasion and gave a performance, and for them, no matter what ability they had, they sort of rose to the very, very best. They peaked on the night, and there's a lot of, we had some technicians and industry professionals in there, and these guys, there's people there moved to tears just by some of the performances and some of the stuff that was coming through, because you could see the emotion was running high.
I wanted to get to anywhere, maybe we can make it to you. Maybe together we can get somewhere, any place is better. Started from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make it something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove. See, no man's got a problem. He lives by the bottle, that's the way it is.
A lot of the time these things kind of fall apart, especially at high school, when kids don't really want to get themselves involved in things all the time. They're always kind of like, oh, that's kind of lame, I don't really want to do that. But for some reason, a lot of kids came forward for it. I think it was a new opportunity for people of all different ages in the school. I think being a teenager myself, when you go through high school, it's quite a difficult time, and you're kind of finding where you are and who you are. And this gave people the opportunity to be something that they'd always wanted to do and someone they'd always wanted to be.
So remember we were driving to your car. Speed so fast, but like I was drunk. See the lights laying out before us. We honked the nights rough around my shoulder, and the feeling that I belong, and the feeling that I could be some more.
We got told about this Moffatfest thing, and we were like, yeah, it sounds awesome.
It'll just be like another band.
It'll just be another band night that hardly gets attended, and hardly gets attended, and not many people go, and there'll be the same people performing all over again. But
all those new talents, like James,
yeah,
I never saw that in James,
yeah.
and Jake. First rehearsals, James was singing it himself like this, and then on that night, he was right at the front, like jumping up and down. It was just amazing.
James Charlton kind of surprised me a lot, because I had always seen him singing. I remember seeing him singing "I'm a Believer" or something in the school concert, and it was just totally different to see him doing stuff with Joseph Stevenson, like amazing musicians who totally came out of their shell and did that. And oh, Jake Little, obviously, no one expected that out of Jake Little.
And I promised myself that I would not give it any thought, but they know me, and they bitch, and they won't for you. And I would give so much for you, for the time you spent alone. Never ever gonna let you down again, and I just want to say to anyone who's intruding into my thoughts, that I'm shut for you.
After a few years I dropped music in school, and I used to play violin in school as well, but I dropped that and just picked up guitar and just started playing it in my bedroom. And when it came to the time Moffatfest, I was good enough to write one of my own songs and perform that, and it went really well, so I figured out maybe I could do this. And it was kind of a big thing, because I went from not knowing what I could do at all to really thinking maybe I had a future in this, and starting to really work on that now.
I think the biggest shock almost for me was Jake Little. I'd actually been in his class since I was 7, and I never knew that he had a talent like that, and nobody else in the year knew he had a talent like that. So for him to come forward and be so good, it was quite surprising for everyone. But I think it also created a good opportunity for him to realise how good he was, and that's actually what he's gone on to do now. So I think Moffatfest has actually created an opportunity career-wise for some people even, if you can go to that extent to say that's what it's done. But I think for Jake, his confidence grew, and people started to realise that he was so talented, and that they kind of noticed him more, and this was somebody that had something so unique.
Obviously we have a tiny number who want to go and pursue music at college, or to go and be a performer. But as I said before, 50 pupils involved, huge numbers involved. It was more about the confidence building, the feeling of participation, the fact that you had 6th years working with 1st years, 3rd years working with 4th years, staff involved, pupils helping each other out on a whole variety of levels. To see them actually not just get up and perform music, but actually give a performance on the stage, and the confidence that gave them, and I feel they now have the belief that they actually can do anything, and that nothing's too big a challenge. And you can't buy that confidence that we've given them.
I've grown in confidence a lot, and at the beginning of this experience I didn't want to study music, and I think this has shown me that I am good enough to go study music, and that's something that I really, really want to pursue.
It has been feeling like we're doing this together. It's all of us. It's not like adults have said, right, we can do this and do that. This is our thing, and we've been lucky enough to be given this opportunity, but we're all working. You've got the photographers and the reporters and everything as well, and I think they've just gained an enormous amount: teamwork, confidence, huge learning curve, how to get on with other people, how to, you need to be rehearsed, you need to be on the ball, but just a really positive experience for them.
It's given me a heck of a lot of confidence, and I was more shy before. I didn't have much stage presence, and Moffatfest and working with people, it's really helped. And I don't know whether I'm going to go into something to do with music. I'd love to, but even if I don't, that confidence that Moffatfest has given me and everybody else will definitely be incredibly beneficial.
We're some months further on than the original Moffatfest event, and it's still talked about, almost on a daily basis in the school. And one of the things that gives me an awful lot of pride in being involved in the event is when our 6th years who've moved on long ago still want to come back, still remember it. It's something that these young people will remember forever, and I will remember forever. It was so good.
something magical happened on the event itself. It was beyond absolutely everyone's expectations, and that wasn't because we had a fantastic lighting system or sound system or costumes. It was the kids themselves, both the kids playing and the audience. There was a certain alchemy or chemistry there that night where everybody was on the one wavelength, and it made for a really, really special occasion. It was actually a very emotional night. Every single kid who was playing upped their game. They played beyond anything they've ever played before, and the reaction from the audience was so warm and so generous that everyone felt a real feeling of euphoria and were really uplifted. It was a very, very moving event, and an event I'll certainly never forget.
At the very end of the event, you know, the pupils were leaving. There were about 15, 16 staff there, and the reaction instantly was, what a fabulous night, that was a tremendous experience, and it just continued the rest of the week. We met all the pupils in the morning, Henry came in, other staff that had helped came in, and the buzz about the place was just incredible. And you know, the pupils were so grateful that they'd had such a great, you could just see them rising in stature having been part of the event, and it was almost that's it, over, what are we going to do next? And you know, everybody thought that was the end, that was the event over and done with, and yes, it was a huge success, but where could we possibly go from there?